Hi, and welcome to our Women's Talk segment. I am here with my beautiful sister here, Dani, who actually stepped on the runway for the first time in 2012, modeling for Fuller Women Expo in Detroit. That opened the doors for her into her modeling career. And she is such an inspiration into self-care and determination. I'm going to let her tell you her story, but it's just so remarkable. The energy that she has is just amazing, and I thank you for being here and just and she actually she supports our cause, and it's just wonderful to see our community grow with beautiful people. So I thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Oh yes.
So, for me, it was a big issue, my weight. I had ballooned up to 310 pounds and really just wasn't paying attention to anything that I was doing as far as eating. I wasn't working out. I just, you know, just did whatever I wanted to do as far as when it came to food. And it got to the point where it was prohibiting me from living my life the way that I know that I should be living it. Like you mentioned, I started modeling back in 2012, and I was with the Fuller Woman Expo, and that was fine, and I was modeling for a few years, but then it got to the point where I couldn't even walk in heels anymore because my knees were hurting, my back was hurting all the time, and it just got to a point where I realized I had to do something. I just definitely had to do something. I've pretty much been overweight all my life, and it just continued to go. It was, one point it would be, okay, well, you gained 5 pounds. I gained 5 pounds, or I gained 10 pounds, and then the next thing, I've gained 100 pounds. I've gained 120 pounds, and I just kept making excuses, and then finally it got to the point where just my health was starting to deteriorate. Like I said, my knees were hurting all the time. My back was hurting. I got headaches often for no reason. And I would never really equate that back to my weight. I would just say, it's just a headache, or
Right.
I'm just tired because I'm getting older, and I made excuses for everything. And then my blood pressure
Yes.
started to skyrocket.
Right.
And
Right.
there was, at one point, because I've always had higher blood pressure, even when I was younger, but the bad thing that happened, I went to the doctor, and just for my regular physical, and when they took my blood pressure, it was 150 over 100.
Oh wow.
And so the
Yeah.
doctor came in, they kept taking it, and I'm laying down, and so when the doctor came in, she asked me, was I feeling numb? Was my face tingling? And I'm like, am I having a stroke? What's happening?
Wow.
And this was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so she had me lay there, and she told me that if they didn't get it to go down, that she was going to send me to emergency because it was just that bad.
Right.
And so I never wanted to be put on any type of medication for anything. I didn't want to go on blood pressure medication. I didn't want to go on high cholesterol medication. But at that point, she told me, she said, you're not able to control this, so you're going to have to go on this medication.
Right.
So I got on the medication. I was probably on for maybe about 6 months or so. And, of course, with the medication, it stabilized it. But there were always other side effects from this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot on our show about the side effects of, we're going to talk about a little bit more about that because being a naturopathic doctor myself, I, prescribe to herbal regimens and not prescriptions or what have you. And I've also had bouts of that with prescriptions myself.
Okay.
So I wanted to get a little bit because I love your success story. I love your determination to take care of yourself, and the beautiful results are just right here. You're absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about, because we talk a lot about, and our charge is to eradicate domestic violence. And so, I want our audience to understand some of the things that may have triggered you to go into unhealthy eating or unhealthy lifestyle. I talked about with myself. I shared that my choice of anesthetizing my pain was work and love.
Okay.
So we all have our own vices, and
Yeah.
everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about why you think you kind of went down that road?
I was married at one point, and it was a verbally abusive relationship. And I knew before we got married that he was the way that he was, but I figured, you know what, it'll change after we get married, and
Good point.
yeah, he'll stop doing this, he'll stop drinking, and it'll be good. But it didn't. Of course, it got worse, and it just got to a point where him and I weren't communicating, and so I would turn to food. I would turn to food. I would snack and just do nothing. And so being with him, because and actually you and I had spoke about it, I didn't equate what was happening to being domestic violence.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point, because a lot of us, and I say us because it's us, a lot of us don't understand that there are multiple ways of being abused.
Yes.
And it does fall in the realm of domestic violence, and that's with your finances.
Exactly.
It's verbal, it's psychological,
Yes.
it's emotional, it's physical, and I've heard people say that the physical scars, they go away much quicker than the emotional and the
Exactly.
psychological scars.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was a great point when we had our conversation, that that you came to that realization that wait, and that's sometimes what happens, and that's another reason
Right.
why we do the podcast, because you don't know, somebody might hear your voice in your story and say wait, and they understand, they can relate to it.
Yeah.
And then the same thing over, wow, I didn't understand that I was in domestic violence until John Walsh gave us that list.
Absolutely.
That whole list of 8, and that sticks with me because he
Yeah.
gave a list of 10 and I was living 8.
Okay.
So that was my wake-up call. And we never know, somebody that's under the sound of your voice today says, wait,
Yeah.
I eat and it makes me feel better.
Right.
But he comes back in and he
says what
says
he's
something,
saying,
and
yeah.
Now here I go. I go
Yeah.
back, and what am I doing?
Yeah.
But see, and then the wonderful thing I think with you is that you took control, you took charge,
Yes.
and you reached, you dug inside and got that power and said, I'm going to do something about this
Right.
for myself and for my health.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, continue with your story, because
Thank you.
I'm fascinated by it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. But yeah, with being with him and just having like I said, it was the verbal abuse, and it was the calling me names, and because of my weight, and so then that made me eat even more. And so when I finally decided to leave, I was torn about whether I should leave or not, because I felt like I had nowhere to go, which was ridiculous, because I have my dad, my wonderful family. So my dad and my sister both told me, there's no reason for you not to leave and think that you don't have any place to go. And so I moved back in with my dad, and then there was still just that, the leftovers from that relationship.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
I just kept eating and not taking care of myself, and again making the excuses that this is just happening because I'm a bigger person and I'm just gaining weight, and that's what's supposed to happen.
Right.
And it still, after that, took me years. It took me 10 years to actually get on this path to start losing weight. And I just didn't think about or understand what I was doing to my body.
Right.
As the years went on. And then even with the blood pressure scare, that still didn't change my mind.
Right.
That's it. I got on the pills, the blood pressure went down, but I still continued to eat the same way. I didn't make any good food choices. I didn't work out, or if I did work out, it was because I really couldn't work out that much, because the weight started to build up on me. And then, like I said, the next thing I know, I was 310 pounds. And actually, it had gotten up probably to about 320.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so our in-house therapist, who is Rodney Hobson, who was here right before you,
Yes.
and he talked about us having putting ourselves into a self-prison with how we think.
Yes.
And I want everybody to understand that, you know, we are our most harsh critic. Like we judge ourselves,
Absolutely.
and we, you know, it's just, we put ourselves through this torture in our own minds.
Yes.
So I want women to see that we are women, and you know, we've overcome some of the challenges that we face, and it took a journey.
Yes.
It was a journey.
Yes.
And I know you're going to be joining us for some episodes, and
Absolutely.
so we're going to talk about your journey, and we're going to dig into how you actually did it.
Yes.
So, you know, we
I'm
want
excited about
I
that.
know, I'm excited about it too, because I mean, healthy living. I mean, you have
Yes.
to, when you start taking care of yourself, and you know what? And the thing that I love about it is that you have this beautiful glow about yourself.
Thank you.
And see, what happens is when you're in a domestic violence relationship, your light starts to diminish.
Yes.
Because when they're tearing you up on the inside, and whether it's physical, emotional, financial, whatever it is, your light starts to diminish, and you start to get lower and lower and lower. And
Yes.
what we're showing you and displaying here now is that your light may have gone dim, but it's not gone away, and it can be relit. It can be revived. It can be,
Absolutely.
you know, grab our hands. Sometimes people, you said your sister and your father.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes people to be strong for you until you can be strong for yourself. And for them, they were fighting for you, and that
Yes.
was wonderful.
Yes.
And it's wonderful. So we'll have some examples of how to come out of that domestic violence situation when you have support. And in my case, it was dangerous for me to reach out for the support that I had.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about that, and we're
Okay.
going to get into that. And I thank you so much
Okay.
for being here.
Thank you.
I appreciate your support. She's one of the
Thank you.
supporters, one of the sponsors of our program. She just came on as a sponsor, and so I thank you.
I
She
thank
believes in the
you.
cause.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
And
you.
thank you for watching.